This program was funded in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting through the Central Educational Network, a grant from the South Dakota Humanities Council, an affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and a grant from the South Dakota Arts Council with funds provided by the state legislature and the National Endowment for the Arts.
The Thunder Beings were said to have brought the Horse Nation to the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people. In our language, the horse is called Shukawakan, or sacred dog. We are a part of the horse, and the horse is part of us. We are inseparable. The horse has been with us when we hunted the buffalo, fought our enemies, and courted our loves. In our culture and history, the horse has been there living right alongside us as our friend.
Let's start at the beginning. According to written records, American Indians didn't have the horse until the Europeans brought him into the Western Hemisphere back in the 15th century. But when that magnificent creature entered our lives, our destinies were changed forever.
The word for the horse in Lakota, it's a description. It's Shunka Wakhan. Shunka refers to the dog nation, and Wakhan is anything that has extraordinary power or energy. And the story was that one of the scouts came into camp, and they told the leaders, he said, Lecha Shunkaya umpi ash, wanji wakanya unwelo yake. He said, over in that area, he said, there's a pack of dogs, and there was one in there with this extraordinary power, lots of energy and power. So that was how he described it when he reported to the leaders. So they went and surrounded it and captured it. It was the horse.
The horse has 7 points, like the ears, 4 legs, and a tail. And Shunkawakhan is sacred in a day. And that's the way we see him. And we use him in ceremonies, and we, throughout our lives, and that's part of us.
So I guess they used to steal him, you know. They had big to them horses. There were no big horses. There were small horses. They called them Indian ponies afterwards. They could do anything. They could do anything. That's how come the Indians do what they call it, Shukawaka.
One time I asked my father how the horses ever came. And he told me a story. He said horses, they tell us horses come from Europe or far countries, you know, across the big waters. But he said, I think they were already here, he said, because, you know, you can see somewhere, they say you see bones, you know. You see bones here and there are bones of horses, you can tell, like, or bones of animals of long ago, and some are like horses, he said. So I think that there's horses all the time in this country.
Legends on the origin of the horse are different in each tribe and each Teoshpa, or extended family. Ali Napeshni, a storyteller from the Rosebud Reservation, tells a legend about a maker of horses in Matota Tipila, or the House of the Bears. Located in the Black Hills of South Dakota, Bear Butte continues to be one of the most sacred sites to the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people. In the wintertime tradition of telling legends and other stories, it is not just a time for entertainment, but a time to teach children moral lessons or to teach them about their own family history and culture. In the oral tradition, Ollie tells the legend of Matota Tipila to her young granddaughter, Jessie Quigley.
A legend. This legend, it's about a young man, you see, and this young man, I guess they were in a camp, and him and his friend, they wanted to borrow the brothers' clothes, because the brothers were older and they wanted to wear something different, and so they wanted to borrow, and here his brother wouldn't lend his outfit to him. So then he really felt bad, and he took off from the camp, and he just walked away. So I guess he left, and he kept going, and here, after so many days, he came to this great big hill, and here, that was Bear Butte. He started to look up, and here, about halfway up, looked like there was a hole in the side of the hill there. So he thought, I wonder what's up there. So he started to walk, and he got up to that place, and here it was like a cave, and he wanted to see. So he climbed up there, and here when he got closer, he could see there was a man sitting there and a young girl. And here the man had one arm, and the man said he was really glad to see me, told him to come in, and he said, I've been waiting for you. He said, son-in-law, he called him, and he said, this is my daughter. She will be your wife. He said, I've been waiting for you. Then after that, after he was there for a while, he started to ask the girl what happened to this man's arm. And here she said, let him tell you. And here the man said that the Thunder people, he said, took my arm a long time ago. And he said, I can't get it back. He said, so that's why I'm without the arm. But he said, it's no use of going over there or anything. He said they won't let that arm go because it's he has some power in that arm, he said, and they took it. But the young man said no. He said, I'd like to go get it. I'd like to go after it, bring it back for you. And he told him how to get over there and just where it was at. So he left, and I guess he flew like a bird, like an eagle one day, and another day a magpie, and then finally he was a little bird, and then finally he got to the place, and so he crawled in the grass when he got there, and crawled inside of the teepee from under the flaps. Once inside, he could see there was four men sitting there and had a fire going in the center there, and they had some big pot boiling with water in it, and something boiling away. So he looked, but he could see the arm hanging in the back over there. So he just went right up to the man, and he said, I'm here as a war party. I'm on a war party. He said that like 4 times in a little tiny voice, So they thought he was cute, and one of them took it, and they said he was cute. And another one said, when anything like that cute is around, I always like to take them and do this with them. And he took it, and he slung it towards that kettle to throw it in the water. And here, the little bird landed on the side of the kettle, and he knocked the kettle down over it, so the water spilled into that fire, and smoke and ashes started to come up. And so the little bird flew and took that arm down. And he flew out of the teepee with it. Those men folks chased him, but he ran with it real fast, and he went inside of a cedar tree. Sticky things. He went inside so they couldn't pull him out. So then he stayed in there, and here they told him, they said, well, that was, you were pretty brave to come here, and said that's something Wakhan, so we let you take it back. And they let him go. So he went back the same way he came, and he took it back to the man. The man was really happy, and he even told him that he was going to give him his power, so he took him up on the hill and laid some medicine up there and gave it to the man, young man. Here one day they wanted to go back to his people, so this man, since he is that arm that he got back was a maker of horses. So he made horses for them. He prayed and the horses came. So they rode horseback and they took a lot of horses back to the people. Different, all kinds. He took them back. The young man went and gave the horses to everybody, to the whole camp. So everybody got horses. And everybody was really glad. They stayed there for a while with him. And he did a lot of things, because he had medicine, he helped the people and everything. And he even had, when they were getting ready to go, he told his people if they had to leave. And he said he appointed like 10 men to watch the camp and watch the people and help them, and especially the elderly. And then he left one day. And he told them that I'm leaving now, but I'll be in Matotipila. He said, that's where I'll be. And they left. He and his wife left. And here, some young men followed him, because they really want to make sure, they want to know where he's at, just where he was going. So they followed him so far behind. And here, that last day now, he's coming close to the butte, and so they watched him, and they start to go up the hill, and it's like there was a cave or something up there, halfway up the hill, and here they went, and here a man came out, and you could tell that he was really glad to see them, and he took them inside, and then the whole thing kind of closed up. There was no hole there anymore, open, so the young men all stayed down below, and they really felt bad. So the people, even to this day, people still go there every spring, and they pray there. And they take these woye, they call their offerings, their cloth, their tobacco ties. They take them there every spring. So even now, if you have a chance to ever go up there, you look, you'll see them hanging here and there. And people go there and pray a lot all summer long. So this is the story of Bear Butte. It's a legend.
A lot of people say the dog is man's best friend. But for many American Indians, the dog and the horse share the title equally. Before the horse, the dog hauled loads on a travois, a form of sled, provided protection for the camps, and served as food in desperate circumstances. Today, the dog still serves as sacred food in certain ceremonies. My grandmother, Dora Schutzoff Breuer, tells us this story handed down to her from her father. He was a Cheyenne who married into the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota people. In the telling, we learn of the importance of the dog and the horse to our family.
And he said, I'll tell you a story. He said this tribe of people were living in a village, and they were starving because there was no food, and it was winter time, and there's no way of getting anything to eat, and the dogs they had to kill them to eat them for meat, And this little boy had his dog, which he loved very much and didn't want to part with. So he ran away with it up on the hill. And long time ago, people, when they really want to pray to God, the Holy Spirit, they go up on the hill and they pray. So he ran up to this hill with his dog, because he didn't want his dog to be killed or be eaten up. So he went up there and he sat and he talked to the Great Spirit and said, I wish, you can help me out some way that they don't have to kill my dog and eat it. My people are hungry, and I need help. And I can see there could be some other way in saving the people from starving. He prayed like that on the hill, and he was sitting there, and pretty soon I guess he went to sleep. And he had a vision over the hills. There was buffaloes roaming around on the other side of the hill. So he looked and he said, if at least one of those buffaloes would come to camp, if I can take one back, my people won't starve. So as he laid there, he seen all that, and then he was going to turn over, and he seen something. He looked, and instead of his dog's paws, he seen some like rocks. He looked up, and something big was standing beside him. He looked up, and his dog is a horse. Instead of paws, he had hoofs, and he had the hair instead of the dog's tail. He reached up, and he was so big he just barely touched it, and he told him that he was a sacred dog. And that's why we call the horses in Lakota, Shunkawakan, means sacred dog. So he looked up, and the horse told him, or the sacred dog told him that he will help all he can because, him and I were up there, and he saved him from being killed and to be eaten up. So he said, I see buffaloes over the hill. Will you help me? He said, well, get on my back and I'll take you over there. So he rode the horse down, chased the buffalo back to camp, and everybody had all the good meat to eat there. That's what he told me. And after that, he said, that's why in our band here, it's called Shunkaitishni. That's a group there, right along where we live now, called Ash Creek. All up and down that place is called Shunkayutishni, means they don't eat dog, because he turned to a horse and he was sacred. And the people were good friends to the dogs after that.
From that point, we just call him this being that's like a dog, but it has powers, extraordinary powers. When it was taken into our philosophy, into our culture, it wasn't just a vehicle. It wasn't just a being. It was much more than that. It provided not only physical needs, but spiritual needs.
Is that the horse, or the advent of the horse, represents an incredible tool that enabled the people to transform and to arise from a condition of limitation, a condition of immobility, to enable them to arise from this level. And the people, of course, are visionary people. And so the horse provided a vehicle to activate these visions, or to embody, or to express these visions, because of course the horse afforded them mobility, which enabled them in turn to easily acquire the necessities of life.
We believe every creation has a spirit. We have a very simple prayer. We say, Mitakuye Oyasi. Okay, Mitakuye is my relative. Oyasi is everything. And Oyasi here means all creation on earth and the universe. And every creation has certain gifts. When a medicine man is selected. He is selected by one of the nations, and we don't call him, we don't have a word for animal in our language. We say Wamakashka. Wamakha is beings of the earth. Shka refers to beings of the earth that are alive and have a spirit. And we say Oyate, those nations. So you look at, we say Cha Oyate would be like the tree nation. In that tree, there are many different kinds. There's what locally we have the pine, the oak, ash, but that's a nation.
The next story that relates to the horses was when they brought the pipe. On the spiritual side is there was ceremonies that were relating to the horses, and we prayed to the west for horses when we prayed to the four directions. And we have a ceremony that makes the horses dance. And they use the four colors to the four directions during the song, like the four directions song, and so a lot of our ceremonies throughout when they first brought the pipe, and I'm the 19th generation, and the horses were used in the ceremonies, and so we were known to be horse people.
This was in Cherry Creek a long time ago. My father and mother were getting ready. They said, one of our horses had to be in a healing. And I wonder what that meant. He's going to help heal these people that are sick. And we know that this horse is going to take part in it. So we have to treat him nice and paint him up and all that. And our horse was a Palomino. And so they took some red paint and made sort of like lightning stripes through his back and on the legs. And I asked, how many horses are they going to use? And he said, 4 colors, because that's the 4 colors of the Indian people. The black, white, red, and yellow. Let's see, I must have been about 10 or 11 years old. Oh, I can remember real good, because I sat there and watched all the time what I was thinking what would happen next, and you know how young people get, they're curious and they want to find out. And then there was a beating of drums and singing, first that slow beating of drums. They all stood toward the sun, east. Let's see, I think the sorrels riders, the sorrel horses, we turned toward the east, and the others just stood around in a circle. These horses didn't move around or nothing. They were all quiet. I often wonder why, if they practiced or what, but everybody brought a horse there, and then that's how it was going. And they turned that way and they prayed to the sun that was coming up, and then they turned south. The south ones were the yellow Palominos in the south, and the west were the black horses. And each one turned, the 4 riders had to turn all those directions. In the north were the white horses. To me, it just, it will really make you wonder.
Today they're not performed because we lost we didn't lose, but we didn't practice a lot of horses, a lot of ceremonies, and even some of the seven sacred rites we didn't practice because of back in 1890, our ways were outlawed, and so we could not perform ceremonies openly till 1978, the Freedom of Religion Act. So, but by this time, a lot of horses, our people, only very few people have horses left. From 1890, the only place is written as Black Elk Speaks is that the sacred hoop of our nation was broken, and we could no longer practice our way of life. For 100 years, it was like a concentration camp.
I've been in a concentration camp. That's where the reservation was called at the time. Being like a prisoner, you have to take orders. The government was there all the time. See that they don't violate any of those rules and regulations they have.
Some of the older, we're sovereign people. We are government of our own. Some older people, they believe that. I believe that. So this is some of the things always, in my mind, that like the Gregos, we're sovereign, we deal with the government. 68 treaty, we deal directly with the United States. The United States Army was representing the president. So we made agreement with them.
After they come back to the reservation, they were made to camp in one place and give them ration, which is some hard groceries or food that are like dried food, like beans, corn, rice, and they had to learn how to plant them. They were given plows and everything to use inside a home, which they didn't know how to use them.
We all used to live out on the farm. We weren't no farmers, but mostly all of them were ranchers. They had horses, they had cattle, and everything. And I always remember a lot of that. And they didn't depend on nobody, they were on their own.
And they gave them horses, harness, wagon. He said they had a hard time learning how to put harness on a horse. And all those buckles on him. And using the utensils was something they had to learn to use them. And they had to build their own houses out of logs that were cut along the river.
After 34, when the Indian reorganization came into existence, people had horses. They made their livelihood with those horses, whether it be pulling a Fresno or plowing up the ground, whatever. But the horses were very important. Without horses, there was nothing going to be done.
I remember when they had naming ceremony for me. There was one big teepee, all decorated up with pine quill work and painting on the teepee. And I think they gave away one horse, and that was decorated with beadwork. Saddle blankets and beaded bridles and everything. And it was kind of because our camp was so big, different parts where they were having different things. And mine was where they gave my name. And then they gave away a horse that was decorated with all beadwork. And in those days, they used to pick out an orphan, a child that has no parents and lives with a grandma, I think. And they would get this child, and then they would give everything to that one child.
I believe that they had no choice but to sell the horses. And I know they talk a lot about a drought that came in 1930s, and the horses, and then people start buying cars, and then they just didn't really come back towards using the horses anymore.
In the 40s, people were very self-sufficient. They lived on their allotted lands. Well, this is like up to the Second World War. During the Second World War, my family, my oldest brother went in the service, and the older ones that could work, we were all, they took all of us to Hastings, Nebraska. And my older brothers and sisters were put into an ammunition depot to work there during the war. And I think we stayed there 3 years. After the war, we came home. And I know as a child, I remember we had horses, we had cows, and we lived in a log house. So we came back to a log house, and our log house was kind of in shambles. So my brothers began to repair it, and the cradle, and they went out looking for the horses. And a pickup drove up, and one of my brothers went over and talked to him, and he came back and he said, "We have to move out." The mom said, "What happened?" And he said, "We're trespassing." He said, below us, there's about 3 miles below us down the river. He said, there's a school there with 40 acres of government land. That's where we're supposed to live.
In our days, we never had fences like this. So why put a fence? They want to keep their own everything. The Indians, when they had horses and everything, they didn't have no pasture. They all shared the land. His horse and my horse can eat his grass, and he can eat my grass. That's the way it is. But they know they go to buy brands who are the owner horse.
The Bureau of Indian Affairs has a clause in there called trust responsibility, which says that if an individual doesn't utilize his or her land for 90 days, the Bureau has the authority to do whatever with that land, supposedly to benefit the landowner.
Due to being fenced off, the water especially, there were some in the community at one time, but they had no place to drink water. And you had to drink water from the community well, or the water line, but that was not permitted. So they had to get rid of their horses. And it was sad.
After the 30s, I think we were, a lot of people sold their land. I don't know what for, but a lot of them bought cars and nice things. And slowly that came on and people were selling. I never owned the land. I'm not a landowner because I was born after they gave land. So I didn't have no land, but I have one small piece just southeast of here. No, southwest of here. But I'm really, I like that land. I can call my own. And it's nice.
Then new houses were built. But no, everybody doesn't live in those houses, just the ones that were approved, And we were approved for one, and that was a big change for us.
And housing developments, moved in. And they were beginning to make housing development, and people were moving into them. So that we live in clusters now in the community. I still have that little house out in the country, though. That's mine. That's the only thing I own, I think, now. But I really appreciate it. And now one of my daughters is going to live up in that little house, just out in the prairie. So that's exciting.
Moving into cluster communities, as well as the loss of land, remain important issues to American Indians today. Much of the land has been consolidated, then leased to farmers and ranchers. Losing control of their land, Indian people are moving into cluster communities like this, into town, or off the reservation altogether. The horse is still around, though. Today, Shunkawakan is used for sport and pleasure, rounding up cattle on leased ranch lands, artistic inspiration, and even as a vision for courage. Many of us Indians have served in combat for the United States of America. Men like Luke Lone Elk from Pine Ridge, Tommy Rubidoux from Rosebud, Sam Weddle, Basil Haith from the Yankton Sioux Reservation. Our next story of the horse is told with great pride in the family of Brian Crawford Akipa. It's about their Uncle Woody, Master Sergeant Woodrow Wilson Keeble, one of the most decorated soldiers from South Dakota. One day during the Korean War, Master Sergeant Keeble was given a vision that gave him courage to go on fighting in a place later called Heartbreak Ridge.
During the Korean War in October 1951, he was at Hill 747. His platoon was sent in as a reconnaissance to help out a company that was already pinned down by a machine gun nest, 3 machine gun nests in a triangle formation on top of the hill. When they reached their company, they found out that the company was already cut into half. And many of the survivors were young boys, and some of them were hysterical and crying. They also found out their reconnaissance platoon was also cut in half. And they lost their company commander, their captain, their officers. Being one of the ranking officers there, Master Sergeant, he decided to take it upon himself to attack these 3 machine gun nests single-handedly with firepower backup from his company. As he was approaching the machine gun nests, there wasn't too much fire on him, as they didn't seem to, a single person didn't seem to pose a threat. And he came within 90 meters of the first machine gun nest and threw a grenade, and he was able to knock it out with one single shot. Again, he, crawling back and forth, he got in with 90 meters of the second machine gun nest, and with a single grenade again knocked out the second machine gun nest. The 3rd machine gun nest, seeing that he was a threat, focused all their firepower on him. And he himself was hit with a concussion grenade that knocked him to the ground. He was bleeding from the legs and the chest. And as he tried to pick himself up, he could see something. He could feel something behind him. And as he looked down, he could see something there. He looked up, and there was a horse standing behind him. He looked at the horse, and it was a painted horse. He said this horse had circles around its eyes, had a lightning bolt painted on its forehead, lightning bolts painted on the shoulder, and handprints. And on the horse was an old man. This old man had a double trailing war bonnet that came down. He also had a lance. It was a great lance. And this old man picked up that lance and held it up and let it down. When he did this, it gave my uncle strength. And he got up and ran in that direction of that lance. It seemed like he was stepping out of a cloud or a mist or a dust. And as he stepped out of this cloud, he was in front of the 3rd machine gun nest and took the last machine gun nest with firepower from his M1.
Some of us went back to our culture because in my early days, I remember in the 40s, I had long hair, I used to dance. My mother used to make me costumes. I know my songs, I dance. And I was happy. In the late 60s, I let my hair grow and I started speaking my language. Pretty soon I met another guy who was doing that, and we slowly get together. I moved in here about 13 years ago. And I fenced it off and I started raising horses. I built a sweat lodge and people come out and say, is it all right to do that? You know? I said, yes. It's all right to do that. I think the horse, as it is now, to me, having the horses here next to the house, give me a real feeling of stability. And I'm learning. I'm trying to relearn what it is that made that horse important.
Every family had a lot of horses, and practically everybody owned a horse, you know, whether it be a full-grown horse or a Shetland pony or pony. Everybody had a horse that, you know, they could call their own, and they took care of that horse, you know, themselves.
When I think back now, it was hilarious, some of the things that we used to do. Just, you had to be a pretty good rider to hang with the boys, you know, because they weren't going to wait around for a weepy little girl or nothing, especially if you fell off.
My dad told me that if we were to have a horse, we were responsible for that horse, and it would give us a sense of responsibility, you know, teach us responsibility in life. So, you know, that, and just not just by having a horse as a playmate or whatever, it also taught the person something like responsibility, caring, understanding, communicating.
So many of us, I can't even say 20 or more, you know, teenagers and whatnot that grew up in Thunder Butte, and we'd split up into, you know, different teams like the Cowboys and Indians, or we'd all be different Indian teams like the Comanches and the Sioux and the Crows, and be enemies, or some of us would be allies with one another. And it was really, at the time, just a way to pass the time.
So it's a lot different. It's a lot more, the technology has really taken over on the activity part in the communities. Because in all the communities, you don't hardly see anybody ride horses anymore.
Being acculturated into the society, nobody wanted to be the Indians because we always saw movies where the cowboys were the good guys. And so it was kind of different, at times, being the Indian, because you were the outlaw and you're always having to hide from the cowboys.
Financially, it'd be hard because of the cost. But I think that if you really set your heart on it, you could bring them back. And then Thunder Butte isn't like it used to be with all the horses. That's what I miss.
But horses, I think, for people who have grown up around them and don't have them now, feel a void in their life.
I know in our district here at one time, here in Ludligo, we used to have horses roamed back in my grandmother and grandfather's days, just roamed. But nowadays you can't do that because you're either violating some kind of a right or something, and you have to keep them penned up, and there's no more of that freedom. One of the main things that our children today are really learning about is the horse. And here, where I live here in Ludligo, I have all the school children here that come to my place, and in the fall or in the springtime, and they ride horse, and they want to learn more about it. But the trouble with that is that a lot of the parents and the people around here don't have the land resource for it, and it's really hard. A lot of them want to get the horses back because I heard a grandfather and grandmother say that when their horses were around, the kids were never in any kind of trouble. But now, as a horse owner here in my district here, slow but sure, I'm changing a lot of these for the younger children. And it's really improving the children that we have around here in our community.
My dad had horses, and I guess his dad had a lot of horses. And it just kind of went down from generation to generation. We just kept horses, kept raising them, and he keeps some. When his dad gave him some, and my dad gave me some mares. Ever since I was a kid, it's like my son, he's 2 years old, and I've been riding since I was 2 years old too. And my dad had him, and I just enjoy him. I rode him since I was 2, and I'm still riding him. A kid, a horse is just the same way. I treat a horse like I treat another person. Because they're going to take care of you like another person too. It's like a good friend. A horse probably to me is the best friend to me. And I like them. And hopefully they like me. They're the best things I have. And I cherish them. Then I'll do anything for them. Don't matter how much it costs. If they're hurt, I'll buy whatever it needs to heal them back up again. Something I always grew up with. And I'm going to grow up with them again. So I die and they die.
The earliest I can remember was it was about a 2-bedroom house, and it was a little log house that we used to live in, and I can remember the kitchen part was like a porch, is like has boards and stuff on it, and then our living room part was dirt. The floor was dirt, and we had about two beds in there, and I guess that's the place I was born in. First of all, I remember my dad, sketching pictures, and or he'd be sitting there sketching, and then I found myself, sketching on that dirt floor. What he painted was like a Western style artwork, like like Remington and or C.M. Russell. He was doing paintings like that, and that's where I got my idea of doing getting into art and painting. And then one day my dad bought me a little horse, Shetland pony, and I would park that horse outside the window, or tie it outside the window, and I would sit there, and when it's frost or snow frost, or I would sit there and I would scratch the snow, trying to sketch my horse.
I think horses have probably just saved me for the simple fact is they've given me a lot of confidence and something to do in life. Because you're on the reservation, it's something you're drinking. The horses, they make you work because they don't know how to feed themselves. So you got to get up in the morning and feed them, clean the stalls, then do it again at night. So then you've got something to do every day. Even if you're working, before you go to work, you feed. When you come home, you feed, ride. I'd say they've saved me that way, keep me out of trouble. Tony's my pet. I've only had one horse in my whole life given to me, and it was a mare. And when I got her, she was the ugliest little thing. And that was this guy's mom. And he was my first horse that really belonged to me. I raised him, I had his mama. And Tony's never bucked, never been mean. This guy has such a good temperament that he made a good trick horse. So he bows, and he rears, and I've got him where you can lope him and turn his head, he'll fall. But, yeah, my brother's been using the Geronimo. Pegasus, riding a Pegasus, he's flying, and he's green, of all things, he's green. And I have a dream I have all the time with this herd of horses. And I even know the flat on this river that this dream happens in. And this herd of horses comes from the west, and they come at me. And they're in the clouds, and they come down. And one of them comes beside me, this green horse. And I grab his mane, and it's just like I fly up on him, and he takes off into the clouds. I don't know what that means or whatever, but sure a nice dream. Wake up smiling. I have a strong tie to him, very strong, My grandfather's nickname for me was Green Horse when I was a little girl. I guess because he's such a big creature, and he can be so kind. And when he stands on a hill and his mane blows in the wind, it looks wild. It's like an eagle flying.
Whenever people and the horse get together, there are always stories of the horse. For the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, living and working with Shunka Wakan continues to be a legacy to our ancestors and a bridge to our future. I'm Leonard Bruyere. Itakuye Oyasin.
This program was funded in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting through the Central Educational Network, a grant from the South Dakota Humanities Council, an affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and a grant from the South Dakota Arts Council with funds provided by the state legislature and the National Endowment for the Arts.